Hello, welcome back, everybody, to Man, an authentic conversation with myself, Cedric Edison, and the wonderful Ron Servin. Um, man, it's so good to have you guys tuning in each week, listening to us. But I really want to say, man, we had so much fun the last time we did our free flow conversation. So much to where we decided to bring it to you guys again this week, where we just kind of just having that authentic friendship, man to man conversation. Um, and again, guys, we're so thankful for you guys to tune in. And again, we just hope that this is reaching that one person that it's for. So, and Ron, I just dive right into it. If I can, I don't. Um, Something's on my mind, man. Going around, and I'm kind of just thinking about what's holding a lot of people back, and I'm listening to different speeches that's talking about, once you come to the decision of what it is you want to do, you have to take this bold action. Um, so I wanted to just kind of pick your brain on that a little bit and just kind of talk. What's your thoughts on it, man? Because for
Yeah,
me, I can.
yeah. Well, welcome back as well, listeners. Yeah, I think when you bring up that topic, I think I really move in the direction of, those things that scare us, and sometimes, taking bold actions is something we really envision as being something that we really, really, really want, but oftentimes we get in our own way. We either create those reasons why we shouldn't step forward because we're afraid of, our own failure or being judged by others, or even those messages that we've heard in the past. You're never going to amount to anything. You're never going to be a life coach. You're never going to be a health coach. You're never going to be a good father. All these messages that we hear, even from the media, about different stereotypes of individuals that they're not expected to be successful because of just the pure dynamics of that group, or the percentages that fail. So I think when I kind of look at and think about taking bold actions, my attitude today is why not? I mean, why not do something every day that scares you? Why not step out of your comfort zone, knowing that fear is something that could be very instrumental in your movement forward in your life. So those that are listening, don't create reasons to not do things. Obviously, be mindful in the decisions and direction that you want to go in, but get out of your own way, and or look at who's in your audience cheering you on to take those steps forward. You make sure you've got those people that are supporting you, and not the ones that are giving you reasons to not consider doing something that you love to do or want to do, or feel a need to do. There's, with my coaching career, I mean, we've got the support within the community, but I think there's even areas that you expect support that you don't always get. And I think it shouldn't be something that keeps you from your own dreams, and making that decision to you know be all you can be, and to not sell yourself short, to be that best version of yourself in all aspects of your life for the rest of your life. I just feel very passionate about that, and although I do still at times struggle and get in my way, and create some of those barriers, what I try to be is at least more mindful of that I'm doing that to myself, not blame others and not blame the situation, to own up to those situations, and not kind of find excuses. You look at them as opportunities, look at those challenges as where I want to get to, and knowing that, and seeing myself get there.
Right, right. Man, it's funny, man. I'm hearing you talk, and I'm like, man, talking about the fears and telling everybody to step through. And man, it made me think about something. I'm like, man, what if we just kind of reframed or redefined bold? Because I'm thinking for me, you know, when I first started hearing this concept, it was like, okay, take a bold action. For some reason, all of a sudden, the action that I, you know, felt that I needed to take seemed so humongous.
Right.
But you know, now looking at it, you know, and trying to simplify it, I guess, you know, for anybody that's out there, you know, look at it from a point of view as the bold action really comes in a very small package.
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of different coaches, you know, on accountability calls and coaching calls. And even in our world, you know, we're human and we hear people with all of these fears and you know, and really what it sounds like is I don't have time, I don't have the money, or I'm not doing this yet, or I'm not doing that yet. And like you say, you know, we have all these judgments that we put on ourselves. And sometimes it's just taking one small action consistently. And that's the bold thing to do.
Right.
It's just to take that one small little action, no matter what it is. You know, if it's just on your way home, instead of stopping by the store to pick up a, you know, a soda, which, you know, take 10, 15 minutes out of your day, pull off to a chiropractor or, you know, whatever it is. If you want the promotion, do something, take that action to be different. But it's going to seem scary because you're going to think everybody's going to look at you weird. I'm the weirdo, or you've changed. In which now I used to hate people telling me you're changing, but that just helped solidify me. Hey, I am taking bold action in my life.
Right.
You know, who wants to stay the same? If I stay the same, I'll be at the same spot. So I appreciate the compliment.
Right. Well, I think too, you can, you know, I think there's two different angles on boldness. One, or bold, you know, you can take individual bold actions, which obviously takes a lot of courage. And we were talking a little bit before we got on the call about, you know, courage and, you know, I think that those two words are very, you know, similar. Being bold, you know, takes courage, you know, the willingness to do something that, you know, causes some fear, some uncertainty in your life. So, you know, the other thing you can, or not just you, but I think in general that we can consider as humans is just being bold in our lives. And that doesn't, like you're saying, it doesn't necessarily need to be, you know, a huge action. It could just be just overall putting yourself, you know, putting out the bigger version of yourself. Even that is being bold. So, you know, it's not playing that small card. It's the willingness to, you know, show all, and we've talked about this before, you know, sharing all of you. I mean, that's a sense of being bold. And it might just be in your own world. It might not be how others view it. It's not about how others might react to you being bold, but it's more about your story and, you know, your own willingness to push yourself, you know, in a position where you're expressing much more of who you are, that boldness in all areas of your life. And so I was thinking when you were, you know, talking earlier, Cedric, and I'm not trying to change the channel on you too quickly, but I was interested in hearing you maybe share a bold step that you're kind of looking at taking in the near future.
Man, I actually, man, I just took some really bold action and now need to continue to ride the momentum. For me, you know, everybody knows, or if you don't know, I'm aspiring to coach, but from a speaking point. I want to go out and inspire people through talks. But the problem that was there was I was scared, you know, all the judgments, like one, oh man, you're a black male, you know, you have these gauges in your ears and all this bad stuff, you know, you used to be in the streets and used to all this bullshit was going into my, you know, coming into my head. But I also realized on the other hand that if I stayed there and just in my head thinking about it, nothing was gonna happen. But I also had a scenario where I just took bold action because I was not thrust into it, but I didn't have a choice. It was like back against the wall. I'm in with another man. We got a mission to accomplish. So I knew what was on the other side of it. And so I'm like, hey, this is just like that same scenario when you got on stage in front of hundreds of people, or when you
Mhm.
stood up and talked in front of hundreds of people in a safe zone.
Yep.
So I stopped and went to a chiropractor office. And it was a no. It was a hard no. However, I got some contacts out of it, of bigger places that I said would never talk to me. And she put me right in touch with the top people there that I needed to speak with.
Mhm.
Um, so, and it was and I had to do that little real quick, um, check in, because I wanted to stop and meditate and say, oh, okay, well, let me do my breathing. But the way it worked out was the only parking spot was right in front of her office. She has these big glass windows. I see a lady standing in front of the windows, I guess just taking a peek outside. And here it is, I pull up, so I gotta get out of the car. I can't take 15 minutes out. Now the judgment kicks in. You're gonna look weird, trying to meditate. You gotta get out of the car, go. The Mel Robbins rule, just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Boom, and I'm in. Fumbling over my words, thinking in the moment that I messed up, settled down, got into it, and just enjoyed the moment and had a conversation. And turns out I got leads out of it. So yeah, man, it's I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but that was
Yeah. I mean, I think those are, I think whenever you do something that, kind of pushes you above and beyond what you think you might have been capable of previously, I would say that's, a definition, or maybe my definition of being bold. Um, allowing yourself to, put yourself in a situation where there could be judgment, whether it's self-judgment or judgment from others or both. Um, not knowing the the results of your actions. I mean, that's, I think, part of being bold. I mean, I think you have some idea and some goals that you might, kind of hope to get out of it when you do something bold, but there's no guarantees. And just that whole idea of, creating, some positive energy, that's going to transfer into some other person or some other situation, that's only going to inspire or to, create, that energy to flow in a positive direction. So, I think those are all, what you said is perfect. I mean, I think that's exactly what I would say if you were to, ask me a similar question. It wouldn't be that exact same scenario, but something that's, that authentic experience that you wouldn't have done otherwise, because you were willing to push yourself in the direction that you're wanting to go in. So I think that's, and that takes, again, it takes courage. It takes the willingness to, go into it without any type of, um, you know, clear expectation that it's going to be received exactly how you think it might be received, or get the exact results that you're looking for. I think it's just that willingness to take action, and trusting, the universe, or trusting whatever kind of method of reasoning that you find in your life to, go with that, and build that trust in yourself that actions, the only time you're going to create change is to, take action. So that's awesome. And I love the fact that you know, didn't hesitate to just get out of your car and walk in, and just give yourself, or give her, the experience of just being yourself. I mean, and yeah, a firm no, sometimes that's okay. That's a huge growing point. And I've been through many, many no's, and I'm sure I'll get plenty more no's in my life in different areas that I'm pursuing. But that just, keeps my drive alive, and allows me to, continue my creative process of pushing on, and being, that person that doesn't give up, and trusting that there's great things ahead for me, and for you, and for others that are willing to be bold in their life.
yeah. So I'm curious now, man. Give me, you had something, you had to take that bold action. What did that look like?
Well, I think I shared with you. So I was, asked to be part of that interview a week or so ago, that was definitely not something that I would in the past have said yes to. I would have, played small and just kind of said I was busy doing something else. But yeah, so I was asked by the HCI group to share my experience in becoming a health coach. And it was a live audio, video conversation. And, I felt that was just, something that I really wanted to do. And felt like there was, a good opportunity for me to really be myself and to not, feel any type of judgment. So I felt very bold and empowered to, to allow myself to share with those individuals that were watching in, deciding what the future might have for them. I mean, we were in that situation where we didn't, we found out about this health coaching program and thought, hey, this looks cool. Maybe I'll invest in myself and pursue this. Now we're well into it and taking on clients and talking about our experiences and all these things. And now I was able to from the other side, based on my experience, be able to boldly tell individuals on what a great experience it's been. And so that was huge for me. So I think, being bold that way. And I think what I've, kind of as I'm sitting here, the last 6 to 8 months of being in this, newfound love of coaching, I feel like I'm just being bold almost on a daily basis, just with, my interactions within the group, just my pushing myself to, continue to be the best version of myself, and to create conversations in situations where I would typically, again, play small and not put myself out there. So I think it's becoming more of a way of life for me to be bold in my life and to not fear the results of me being myself. And obviously that starts with me. And that was, part of my journey and work was to, or has been, and will continue to be, my own, kind of pursuit of, all of my areas of, of growth and of, areas to work on and be, aware of. So I think that's really been a driving force for me to really, keep my journey of being a better man. And I think it's just inspired me to outwardly push that to others, to encourage others to be bold, to give them reason to be that best part of themselves in different situations. Had just the other night, got asked to come and spend 10, 15 minutes talking to a group of up and coming house inspectors. And it was, like a half hour, 45-minute drive for me to go out there in a 10, 15-minute conversation with, people that I've never met before and just, express, told them what I'm doing, kind of push them to, really look at themselves and invest in what they're doing in their life and being the best version of themselves. Even walk them through a little meditation. And so that for me was another bold step in my life to create opportunities for myself and ripples in other people's lives to encourage them to really, stay on the bigger path. I mean, obviously they're picking a career and choosing something to do in their lives to be, to have a career. And, I think what I brought to them was, how are you showing up in other areas of your life? And as we've learned, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So it was good. And it was just a great, kind of put myself out there. Didn't take much of my time. In the past, I would probably have been more selfish and just, kind of hung out and stayed home, but just felt that cool desire and being bold to share with others, kind of what I'm doing. So yeah. And Cedric, you inspire me to be bold. I think just, the time that we've known each other and just hearing your story, I think you've inspired me to be bold in my life to, kind of push the envelope and to always, create new visions for myself so I can be, the best father, the best husband, that I know we talked the other day about just relationships and stuff like that. And I think that's obviously very important to me. So I think, you've helped inspire and encourage the boldness that I think I've been able to continue to grow into.
Man, I appreciate that, man. And I got to say the same for you. Like, man, you like a big inspiration. Like, because I think I started out calling you Papa Ron when back in the day.
Let's not give away this age differential. I'm becoming more. I'm becoming aged like a fine wine. I'm not an old decrepit soul.
Well, that's why I just kept it at Papa Ron. It was more like a father figure. I mean, not that it was gone, but now we have our friendship just kind of developed totally different from that. So,
right.
And I like it, man. It's like you're a good example for me, to look at. You always find those people in your circle that you want to at least be like or have some of the traits, and you're one of those people for me. And look where we are now.
Yep.
And I say back in the day like it was, years and years ago, but it's crazy. It feels like it though.
So I was curious, Cedric, when you're, because I know you obviously have a much different kind of, where you're at in the country, small town area. I'm obviously in a much different area of the U.S. than you, different life experiences. I'm interested in people in your life that you are around on a regular basis. Do you see a lot of men that are bold figures in your life, in your town, that you kind of look at to say, that's somebody I can really learn some valuable attributes from? Or do you feel like you'd be more of the one that would pull that boldness through your coaching and just who you are, that you can inspire those individuals? So I'm curious if you have that in your community, or is that something you might be able to tap into to show that boldness of yourself in your town to kind of become a hometown hero and allow other men and women to become more bold in who they are in their life in your town?
Oh man, good question. It's kind of different here. I mean, no disrespect to my community, but from where I sit and observe, it appears that way. And I look at it and it appears like everybody has, or no, I won't say everybody, but a lot of people have, or a lot of men have what I call that small town mentality. Because it's refineries around, so hey, you go and get the plant job, or you look around, they're still doing the same stuff we did back in the day.
Right.
Hanging out in the projects, or doing this, and and I still try and swing by and just say hey for a couple of minutes, if stay in the right area, whatever, if I see them in passing. But most of the people that I knew coming up before, like trying to reinvent myself, nah, it's and I was gonna ask you, what do you think it is? But I call it the small town mentality or the fear mentality. They've just been programmed to go a certain level, and there's like not a lot of motivation around. It's not things that they can see on a daily outside of virtual stuff that could motivate them.
Right.
There's not a lot of people here doing a lot of stuff, but don't get me wrong, there are people here that's doing stuff that you can put yourself around. But when you look at the city or the town in a whole, it's not. And I find myself hearing a whole lot like, "No, man, you done changed the whole lot, man." And that's why I made the statement earlier, like, man, sometimes I don't even know who you are, because I've done that 180, and that's the mentality. And most people look at what I do or how I'm living now because I won't say it's a non-responsive way of living. My beliefs have just changed, and things like the way I react have changed. Yeah, I still have my hot side, my mad side, but for the most part, it's just kind of peaceful. Hey, there's no reason to get upset about that. When on the other hand, if you said something wrong to me back in the day, that was either honestly like gunplay or a fight at least.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like, what? Hey man, what? Like, hey, everybody's everybody. They're entitled to their opinion, and it's like, whoa, who are you, dude? So now that's just as far as my community, but that's where I'm at. That's where I am, and that's where I'm trying to help. And it's a lot of, I don't know if I'm judging the wrong way, but I feel like it's a lot of help
Right.
needed here.
Well, I think, and I didn't want to, I was just kind of playing back the time that we've had, as friends. And I know one of the huge things that you did and were very bold in your life was, the whole experience with the hurricane. And I think I owe it to the listening community to give you a little bit of time here to share a little bit of that experience around how bold you were to do some of the things that you did. I mean, I want to honor what because I know you and I were in communications, and you're posting about your rescues and just all those things that you did. Can you just maybe give a brief, maybe a couple of your highlights of the bold actions that you took during the hurricane or soon after the hurricane that really inundated areas around your house, and your willingness to pick up and help the community and help others. I'd love for you to share that with the listening audience.
Man, that's Harvey. Man, it seems so far away, but at the same time, like yesterday. Man, all of that really came as a blessing in disguise, man. I was at a crappy job, and somebody came in and they had some stuff, a job to offer, kind of doing, something that was in my comfort zone. So I took it, and my mind was blown because I knew the city was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. So we're out there, and it looks like a war zone. And I just remember feeling this immense sadness, and it was a weird feeling though, because I got to be honest. Where I'm at, it's deep South Texas, very liberal state, a city that's 19 miles away from me. Just 10 years ago, maybe 15 max, had a sign with black people on it that said, "Don't get caught in our town after dark." And this area, and I don't even know if I ever told you this, Ron, but the area that I was in was one of these older towns within a town, or older part of the city.
Right.
Where prior to the hurricane, I really would be very nervous to be in this area after dark. Now you follow what I'm putting out?
Yeah.
And so now I go to this area, and I see all of these people's lives just on side of the road. And we have to monitor, make sure all this stuff is getting picked up the right way, going to it's a madhouse, as far as logistics. And that's what we're there, trying to get all the logistics and stuff going. But I just remember, and the one time I remember that probably sticks out the most, and I just remember I had to go and talk to these people. And I didn't know who they were at the time, and I just saw them cleaning out a house, and I'm like, "Hey guys, y'all mind if I talk to y'all?" And this was after I had video, and I was just saying, "Hey man, I just wanted to show people." Real quick, I ended up running into the Cajun Navy and got them a lot of help from the town. And I was just remembering, man, I forgot that you asked me about the rescue thing. So that was that on the volunteering thing. But The saving thing, honestly, man, it was watching the news, and the city was just getting inundated by water. And a guy across the street from me has a couple dump trucks. And so I see them outside, and like right at, a little bit earlier, we had started seeing on the news that people were actually getting stuck in neighborhoods. So at the time, it was just like, damn, you're watching it on TV. And so I go outside and I see my neighbor over there. And I'm like, hey, man, what you going to do with the trucks? And he yells out to me like, well, shit, man, I'm finna go help the city. I'm like, I'm coming with you. Let me go put some boots on. And so I go run in the house, put some boots on, some jeans, like, some gear. And my nephew there, I'm like, hey, put some boots on. And if you want to do something good, just come with me. If not, if you're scared, I understand. I ain't going to be mad. You can stay at home. I don't care. We're going to save some lives today, man. And we just hopped in the back of the truck and took off and just started riding around town. And we started, man, I can't remember the name of the app, but there was some app that we had to start using because Facebook got so crazy. And then we found like some first responders told me, man, what was the name of that app? But anyway, it helps us communicate between just responders where we can get addresses and was just going live like, hey, this is where we at. Go to this app and, let us know and we'll come get you. And we did that till the truck broke down. But looking back, man, in the moment, I didn't feel like it was bold. I just felt like it was something that needed to get done.
Right. And which I think is important because I think sometimes we place so much emphasis on something being, bigger than life, which, going in, before we actually take an action that we're waiting to, to take versus, this is something that in my opinion, is a huge, bold action that you took. There's some risk involved, putting things aside as far as, doesn't matter who needed your help. You're willing to help anybody. Those are all bold, very bold actions, but I think you being in it, it doesn't feel that way because, you're that person that's creating that action. So I think that's an important thing to think about because I think that's goes more to when I was saying earlier about just being bold in your life, doing something every day that is, something you wouldn't typically do. And it's, a little bit scary and pushes you to be a better version of yourself. I mean, those are subtle, bold actions that you're taking that can be, as influential in somebody's life or your own life that, could lead to another bold action or just, to create a better situation, in a scenario that maybe really needed that. So, I just remember back when that was going on and just, felt, very honored to know that you were out there doing what you did. And in amongst, I mean, you were in the middle of your studying to be, become a health coach and, you were trying to create some space to practice your skills labs and all these things. You're still trying to keep your life in order, yet you're out, kind of doing these amazing things that people watched on the news and, kind of over time, even though it was still going on, just kind of forgot about it. Right. Or, didn't become as prominent in the news. So people thought it was over with. But I know you and I continued the conversation well after that. And, that was the problem, right? It just continued on, and things are still, I'm assuming there's still probably work going on today that's still part of the hurricane.
Oh yeah, man. It's still. I mean, it's not as bad, but it's still like you say, work. It's crazy.
Right. So it's interesting. So it's interesting that you didn't feel at the time that was a bold action. But I would assume if I was telling you a similar story about an action like that I took, I think when you're on the other side of it, it seems much more bold than maybe you in the moment type thing. That's awesome. I just love that story. And for you listeners, if you didn't really, you kind of tap into that story at the time, I mean, wow. I mean, if any of us have that willingness or should have that willingness to help our fellow humans, in any situation, doesn't matter, black, white, Chinese, whatever that scenario is. And we've talked about this before about, creating that separation. It shouldn't take shouldn't take a natural disaster for us to come together a little bit more as a human race. And I'm going a little off topic there, but I guess I felt kind of a,
Oh, no, no.
you know, so I
But
think
man,
you're,
you know what? In you having me talk about that, man, it made me think about something though. Because now I'm wondering where's the disconnect or where's that misfire? Because I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, here it is. It's cold rain. The city's flooding. People are literally dying. You see in the reports, like only one person died here, but so now the reality is there that you can die from this water. And without second thought, I'm like, hey, let's go,
right,
right?
right,
Let's go dive into this action. Let's take a gamble with your life, right? Like literally. But and I can take that action like without thought. But now, people can always take that action. But what happens in the brain, or I wonder why it is, something as simple as posting a Facebook post or going to that chiropractor's office or going for the promotion or starting your own business. I wonder why we get so paranoid when we're faced with uh, 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 it's really not it's not reality. It's just a thought that's
right,
stopping us.
right. Yeah, that's interesting. Because like what I'm hearing you say is, how spontaneous we can be in situations like that to be bold, yet, in something that's our everyday activity, we find a reason to play small or to not find reason to be bold and to take action. Um, yeah, I'm assuming there's some of the messaging that we've had in the past that we think that we for some reason believe in. We've been told by our fathers that this is the way your life is supposed to be, or you shouldn't, don't consider doing this in your life, and we just kind of think that that's the right thing to do because we are supposed to believe in our fathers and they give us all the right advice. Um, yeah, it's an interesting question. Why don't we just take that bold action and go with it? And what's the worst case scenario in those situations? Somebody says no, like, suggesting or going to, like you did, go to a location and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I really think I can provide you a service and really grow, your employees to, be the best employees you could possibly have. What do you have to lose to go and make that bold statement, knowing that a no is possible, but why not, right? I mean, if the opportunity opens up, then how great will that be?
Right, right.
But
Man,
it's
that
but it's tough, right? Because I think there's even simpler things in our life that it's that decision to not continue on like an unhealthy eating habit. It's like be bold enough to say, no, it's not going to help my cholesterol level, or it's not going to help, other aspects. It's not going to give me energy. I mean, I think we still make those decisions, and obviously those are lesser. I think that doesn't necessarily make us not be bold people in our life, but I think how we do one thing is how we do everything. So I think the more we can make those mindful decisions and be more bold in our decisions, then the likelihood that the result is going to be much more nourishing for ourselves and for others.
so like if you came across somebody and they like, hey, Ron, y'all just having that conversation and they along, somewhere along there let it out that they kind of scared to take the next action. What would you tell them?
I guess I would probably be more wanting to ask the question, what is the worst case scenario? What results concern you about you taking that action? And, just allowing them to share, where their fear lies, because I think, because I think you have to honor that fear and know that that's a real feeling that they have, but,
Hmm.
kind of really kind of peel back those layers. And as we know, like we do with our coaching career, the why behind the why. What is the underlying reason why they're not wanting to take that step to be bold? Especially if they know the answer. I mean, if I make this decision, the worst possible thing that can happen is X. And if that X is something that's going to, harm them, mentally, physically, or harm somebody else, and create a decision or a result that's not going to be nourishing for them or for others, then I think you have to, go into that decision knowing what the potential repercussions are going to be. But if you genuinely know that the worst thing you're going to get out of it is a no, then I think it's just inspiring that person to accept those no's as, potential yeses in the future, to not stick with, just the mindset that, there's still not opportunity there. I think you have to have that persistence and that willingness to, push yourself through situations and not give up, so easily because of that no. So I think it's just, really trying to be, honoring how they feel. I think that's a very important part of that process when somebody is, trying to make a decision and make it a mindful decision, is to, try to tap into what that feeling, them going into it is, and really allow them to feel that. But again, just to ask that question, what is the worst possible thing that could happen by you taking this next step in your life? And I think that's going to be, very, I think for me and for that person, that's going to really create a clear picture of how, how important that decision really is to them. If it's something that is just, I don't want to hear another no because I've heard so many no's in my life, then I think there's some lack of courage there. There's some obviously there's a history of some unhappiness around the results that they've had in the past, and maybe they're taking the same action and getting the same results. And looking at how that process, or what that process looks like. I think as health coaches and life coaches, we're trying to create change in people's lives. So if they're not doing something different than they've done in the past, then they're probably going to continue to get that same result that they've been getting, since the first time they did that exact action. So again, it gets back to being bold again, right? Bold to make a different, decision, a boldness, willing to get a different result. Because even that result isn't something they might not be ready for, but it's a place they want to be. And that pushes you out of your comfort zone. And even though there's big things in our life that we want to do, that still can be a little scary, right? A little uncertainty of, and I've had bouts of that, of feeling, a little bit afraid of success. What if when this happens, become, even a bigger success in my career, how am I going to continue to maintain the level of balance that I really desire in my life? So yeah, I think it's kind of that willingness to really explore, how you've done in the past, what you can do differently in the future, and what the potential worst case scenario is in asking that question.
Yeah, man, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I'm like, man, that's honestly, that's our work. It's what we do. Because I was like, man, that's kind of the same thing I would do as well. Like get them to see what, hey, lay it out in your mind. What's the worst thing that could possibly happen?
Right.
Put it all out there. And on the flip side to that, show them a different reality.
Right.
What's the best thing that can happen?
Right.
And and that's what we do, is like you say, get to the why behind the why. Like get to asking questions, and to y'all listening, I would say, well, what is your why? And then ask your why.
Right.
Like it makes me think about a story the speaker Eric Thomas told about the guru and the mentor, where the guru, he said he wanted to be great, successful, and the guru said, hey, meet me out at the beach at 4 a.m. Takes him out there and goes in the water. He's like, man, I want to be successful. I don't want to learn how to swim. The guru still takes him out there, like, hey, if you want to be successful, walk out in the water, right? Walks out in the water. And he still was asking him, like, what, man, what's going on? You know, this has nothing to do with being successful. He said, yes, it does. He says, walk out some more. Now he about neck high in the water. And he said, man, look, I want to be successful. And Guru takes him by the head, pushes him underwater, and holds him there until he's just about out of breath. And then he lets him up. And he finally said, if you want to be successful, you got to want it as bad as you want it to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, that's tough, but your why, like what I got from that story is your why needs to be bigger than any excuse.
Yep.
Your why needs to be bigger than any excuse you can come up with.
Right.
So you always have something, you know, and you gonna fall short because it's habitual. You know, and, while you're creating those habits, you're gonna fall off, but it's the time when times get hard that why, like, why are you doing this? You know, that'll help motivate you.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And I think, you know, I think what I've expressed before is, you know, do something every day that scares you. You know, that's, I think that's another way of being bold in your life.
I love that. I love that.
Because I think there are those things that we, you know, every day that we face, you know, big or small, that we, you know, kind of step back from and say, you know what, I can do that tomorrow. I don't have to take that action today. You know, tomorrow might be a better day. Tomorrow's, you know, and then the next day comes and you start building confidence in saying no. So I think, you know, there needs to be that willingness in our lives, you know, in our evolution as human beings to, you know, continue pushing the envelope with ourselves. And I think those are things that we allow others to experience, and people that are struggling in their lives can learn from sometimes the mistakes that we make, but also really learn from our successes. And I think it's up to all of us to share those gifts that we have. You know, each one of us has an amazing, wonderful gift to share, or gifts to share with everybody else in the world. And I think, you know, we really have to be mindful and aware that we all possess those gifts. And I think, you know, we can easily find or look at ourselves on the areas that we, you know, want to change and do better and strive to be, you know, the best at. But I think there's also the need to acknowledge the beauty that we have within us already. And, you know, being aware of those, you know, ways that we can share that with, you know, everyday people. It doesn't have to be that best friend. It could just be that person walking down the, you know, the street, and take a bold action of extending your hand and introducing yourself, you know, acknowledging something about them that makes them feel that they're being heard in their life, or that they're being seen in their life. You know, there's those ripples that I think are so important for us to look at as humans. And these all, again, go back to this topic of being bold. And, you know, and Cedric and I try to be bold in doing this channel. You know, there's times where we, you know, don't feel like, you know, that we have as much to give as we can. And we push ourselves to do that, to be bold in our own nature, to, you know, share and to support and to, you know, really try to grow ourselves, as well as, you know, put something like this out there to you folks to hopefully, you know, create some inner conversation, you know, within your own mindset, as well as to, you know, allow you or encourage you to create connection with others and spark that conversation with others about maybe some of the topics that we've talked about. Yeah, kind of winding down, Cedric. I think I just know that we, again, kind of sometimes don't know what we're going to be talking about. There's definitely a lot of topics that we really feel resonate with us, and many of them we spoke about. We've got lots on the horizon that are coming up. But there are going to be these days where just this free flow conversation really serves, I think, serves us well, and hopefully serves the listeners well, to just, you know that there's that opportunity in our lives to create this conversation. And I think, what Cedric and I have been able to, I think, accomplish through creating this channel is just a very authentic, vulnerable, a conversation that allows us to be vulnerable, a conversation that allows us to be, honest, at times, emotional, at times, proud, all these different feelings that are just generated from a conversation. So, although you're listening, you may be listening in and feeling some sort of response from these conversations, use that to your advantage to create conversations in your life. Use this conversation that we're trying to better ourselves, to be more vocal in our community and in our lives, to allow you to then take your own story and share that with somebody else. Create, your own conversations that will spark somebody else's conversation. Yeah, I mean, so much good stuff, Cedric. I think we could go on for hours and hours, and I know our listeners will probably get tired of talking to or hearing from us for hours and hours. So just winding it up here, but I want to say my goodbyes to everybody and appreciate the listening in, and look forward to our next conversation. Cedric?
Yeah, man. Again, I had so much fun this week, man, hanging out with you, Ron, hanging out with you guys, listening. And just like Ron say, if there is something that kind of stirs it up, that moves your needle a little bit, hey, ride that momentum wave. I know you guys may not know us, but we're no different than you. We breathe the same air. You cut us, we bleed the same way you bleed. We have feelings the same way you have feelings, and we're just two dudes that met trying to live a dream, and we took a bold action. So if it moves your needle, hey, ride that momentum and look back on it and be like, hey, those two dudes did it. I can do it too. We're no better than the next person. And if we can do it, I know damn well you can do it too. And just appreciate you guys listening in every week. Greatly appreciate it.
Love that, Cedric. That was very well said. Appreciate that.
Awesome. Oh, wow. I said something eloquent.
You're so bold.
I'm stepping out.
That's right. Well, keep listening, guys. And again, as we've encouraged you in the past, if you know others out there that might benefit from this, share it. Even if it's one of the topics we've talked about. If that one topic can resonate in somebody's life and create some space for them to grow from and learn from and move in the direction that they want to move towards, be that person that shares that with them. Again, this isn't for everybody, but hopefully there's some opportunities out there that people may be missing out on now, that you can maybe create that spark for them by sharing. And maybe that's just a conversation. So with that, I will say namaste to y'all.
All right, and appreciate it, folks. And as usual, namaste.